So you were Mandy for 26 years.
Jayne Dunn, who has hit the headlines for being axed from Hollyoaks.
So it was 2021. Your career took a different turn when you went down the OnlyFans route.
Yes, Jayne Dunn, who played Mandy Richardson in the Cheshire-based drama Hollyoaks, has lost her job because of her posts on the website OnlyFans.
I just watched the numbers going up and the subscribers and going, oh my god, like this is insane.
How would you describe the impact it's made?
It really did for me feel massively empowering, and it still does.
If you were going to talk about things that are your sort of confidence tips, you need to get yourself in the zone or feeling more confident, is there anything you do? Hi Sarah, thank you so much for joining me.
No worries.
You've got such an interesting and varied career to talk about, and I think there's so many things about you personally and professionally that encompass sort of female empowerment and confidence, which is the aim of the podcast today.
Nice.
So I just kind of wanted to rewind a bit to the beginning of when you all started. So when you kicked off your career, you were 14, is that right?
Yeah. Which is mad. It feels like 2 seconds ago, but also feels like a million lifetimes ago. Yeah, I was a baby, really. Probably didn't feel like it at the time, like any other teenager. You know, you want to be older and you feel more grown up than you are. But now I've got a 6-year-old and I think, gosh, you know, I'm gonna blink and he's gonna be 14. And I now talk about, like, he'll ask mummy when she started work. He'll be like, when did you start? And I was like, 14. He's like, oh my gosh, like even for him, he can't comprehend. So young.
Because at that age, really, like everyone's struggling with their teenage years, all the issues that come with that.
Yeah.
And for you to kind of been, well, essentially thrown into the limelight, and you wouldn't have worked before, obviously, because you're only 14.
Yeah.
Can you remember at that time how you felt?
Yeah, I remember getting the job and being terrified, being absolutely thrilled, obviously. Couldn't believe it. So I had done a little bit of work before that, actually. So the reason I got into acting was because I wanted to be a model. So at like 12, my little naive head was like, I'm going to be a model. When I'm 16, I'm going to move to London and get an agent and rah. And that's sort of where my confidence grew, because I was never a confident child. Yeah. But from doing, like, I did modelling courses and I did photo shoots, and that was what helped me gain confidence. So I think 14-year-old me, when I got the job on Hollyoaks, I was terrified inside, but I knew that it's what I wanted to do. Right. And it pushed me to sort of come out of my shell and just go for it. Because I knew if I didn't, then the job wouldn't be mine. And, you know, if I didn't do well on the job, then it might not continue. And so, yeah, it was scary, but obviously one of the best things for me personally and confidence-wise was having that opportunity.
That shows the power, doesn't it, of ambition, I suppose, at that time. Even at 14, you were that driven to kind of think, well, I'm going to put myself in this, well, probably like stressful, scary situation. But my ultimate aim is to be this model, move to London, like you said, which is effectively, you've achieved that, haven't you? You've done more than that. So it just shows that then the confidence that you built really was essential to keep you moving forward with it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think back then as well, it was much more difficult to get on TV. Like, I think now it's because we've got so many reality TV shows and anyone and everyone can apply, and lots of people come from nothing to like huge in the space of weeks, really. You know, you look at things like Love Island, but back then it wasn't something that was obtainable. So I think even then in my young brain, I understood what a massive opportunity that was, and how, you know, my peers and everyone really watching would have been desperate to have that opportunity. And also, you know, at the time, Hollyoaks was like a year old, I think. So it was huge like that. And I remember walking home from school when I'd had the audition, and there were like posters of Hollyoaks on the bus stops on the way home. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a part of that. Like, this is crazy to sort of comprehend.
And at that time, obviously, you're really excited. You're feeling like, right, I'm getting my foot in the door here. But what fears were running at the back of your mind?
Oh, and the ones that still run in the back of my mind now are the you know, judgment. Am I good enough? Am I going to do a well enough job? What are people going to think of me? I mean, it all boils down to insecurities, doesn't it? And it all bounces back to that, I think. And now, as an older woman, I can, you know, sort of rationalise them and put those voices to one side, or make sense of it. But I think as a young girl, it was quite difficult to manage that, really, because I was also going through such formative years and working on a big TV show, and then also going to school.
Yeah.
So
you were doing that at the same time?
All at the same time. So I'd have days where I'd go to school in the morning, I'd come out of school, say at lunchtime, and then my mum, God love her, up until me being 17 and being able to drive myself, used to drive me to Liverpool, then a film, and then I'd come home and I'd have schoolwork to catch up with, and then I'd have my lines to learn for the next day. So it was a lot. Like, it was a lot. But again, I think it, like you say, that ambition and that drive pushed me through, like, when it was really difficult, when I was like exhausted or just going, I can't keep up with this schoolwork, or I've got like 12 scenes to learn for tomorrow, and they're really emotional scenes because I had really big emotional storylines when I first started. But I wanted it so bad.
Yeah. Hearing you say that is really interesting because many people wouldn't even think that happened. I certainly didn't think you'd be at school at the same time. I don't know what I actually thought about your education or you catch up with it, because I was thinking, right, that's it, you've got, you're in, acting's your career, and hopefully you're going to continue to build on that. But that shows actually you must have had this like self-discipline, like you've got at the back of your mind, you're a teenager yourself, you've got all the hormones going on, you've got all the stress and had this new thing to learn. But actually, you're still doing the same as everyone else, but you've got this massive pressure thrown into it. And not only the pressure of the job, pressure that you're probably putting on yourself. So what has it, from there, I mean, you say you've got the similar insecurities now. Have you learned on that journey about how to deal with them?
Oh, God, I mean, it's been such a long time. Obviously, like, I'm 41 now, so, there's a lot has happened in my life since I was that 14-year-old girl. And I think I've gone through the same as every other person does and every other woman does. And like I say, there are these judgments and we put stuff on ourselves, don't we? We almost talk ourselves like down. And I think the biggest thing for me over that time, and this has only really happened for me in the last sort of couple of years, is sort of finding my own voice. And when people go, what would you say to that younger version of yourself? And I think it is always that now I would go, don't listen to anyone else's opinions and believe in yourself. It's all about believing in yourself. And I think I've really worked hard, like my whole career, and I've had a good career, and, there's still a lot to go. And I think that comes from that place of discipline and professionalism and actually, there must be a part of me that has been able to shut those voices down for a long time. Because,
and I think that's really interesting how, like, just hearing you reflect on that process. If you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't really kind of go take a step back and think, actually, I still have these doubts. It's only natural to have them, but you've got to rewind your head and think, hang on a minute, if I dealt with it then and kept going and overcome them, then it's just that, I suppose, showing yourself that self-belief that you can do it.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's interesting that we all still have these voice in the back of our head, don't we?
Yeah.
About things.
Yeah, we do. And a lot for me, I've had I think what's helped the last few years, I've had like life coaching and I've had therapy, and they've been some of the best things that I've ever done. Like, difficult, and anyone that's, had therapy will tell you that. But it really sort of unravels like your past, your present, your whole self, like sort of going, who am I? What are my beliefs? How do I feel? Why do I feel like that? Do I even feel like that? Or is that how I've been conditioned to feel?
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpick, but it's made me understand much more, I think, who I am now. And I think a lot of my life I've been a people pleaser, and it's probably got me quite far because, I've always sort of been a yes girl, and I'll do whatever you tell me, and I'll be there at that time, and okay, I'll do that thing that I don't really want to do, but okay, I'll do it because it won't rock the boat. I've never rocked the boat. And so that's something that I think I've learned about myself. And I believe in everything for a reason. So I don't think I'd be where I am today if certain things hadn't happened and if I hadn't been that version of myself. But it's sort of interesting to unpick.
So touch on that point about starting the therapy and really reflecting on yourself. What was the point that made you think, I need to do that? I need to explore this aspect of myself. Was there a point you can remember where you think, actually, maybe I do need to take a step back and invest in yourself rather than pleasing others potentially all the time?
Yeah, so I started, there's Jill Ritchie is like my life coach, and it's funny how we met on Instagram, of all places, which is such a good space for like connecting. I know there's lots of pros and cons to social media, but I think it is really a really valuable space for connecting with people and like-minded people and people in the same industry or with the same likes. And it was actually, my little boy was really, really poorly. just before lockdown. So he was in hospital for a few weeks. And Jill reached out to me, and, you know, I was in this world of sort of just go. Because when something like that happens to you, you don't know how you're going to respond. And my response, I found, was that obviously that maternal, like, I have to be okay. I have to be the strong one, because my little boy can't be the strong one. Obviously, my husband was struggling. And so I was like, it's me. Mother bear, like, hold it all together. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And Jill's mother as well. And I think she obviously saw this in me. I wasn't on social media when all of this was happening. And she reached out to me and was like, look, just sending you like love and healing, and we connected after that. And I had a couple of then sessions with her, which I actually don't think I realised at the time were sort of sessions, but we jumped on Zoom calls. And she's got such a good, lovely way about her that I found myself really just breaking down. And she sort of really read me as a person and told me some, like, truths, or she saw things in me that I hadn't recognised before, like the people pleasing, like the, you know, I was always going, I'm so lucky and I'm really grateful. And she was like, yeah, but you've also worked really hard. And all right, there might be an element of luck, but not everyone's just like, oh, I'm so lucky.
You've continually, despite the highs and lows of everything, you know, you continue to keep yourself going. That's amazing, and you've really benefited from it.
Yeah, massively. And then I decided to get a therapist alongside chatting to Jill. I think I was intrigued, and I was like, actually, it's interesting I've never stepped back and looked at myself, and I think I just worked, and I'd always played different characters. So actually it's quite easy to step away from myself, and almost as a bit of a cop out, because you can go, okay, right, well, I played Mandy for that long that I know her inside out, but actually I'd have to sometimes go, but is that me thinking, or is that her, or is that like my mom thinking, you know, is it my mom's voice in my head, or is it, you know, just what you see on social media, or like, and I really wanted to sort of go, actually, what do I believe and what are my opinions? And so for me, therapy was a really safe space to just have these open conversations, unpick stuff that had happened, unpick like all the stuff with my little boy. I sort of packed away, and I really needed to unpack that because lockdown was immediate after he came home. And so it was a really stressful time. Like, he was poorly, then we moved house, then it was Christmas, and then we went into lockdown, and I just went, oh God, what is happening? Yeah.
I think as well, it's a really good point for other mums as well, because so you've been like grafted in this mentality of pushing forward and probably putting your like personal self last just to go on this professional jet stream, I suppose. But when you're a mum, everything is about your child now, and if he's poorly, that was probably the thing that really resonated. Like, oh God, if I'm not functioning as best I can't look after him.
Yeah.
And yes, that's really interesting. You say. I want to touch on another point you mentioned as well about social media, that there are so many like good points that you say about it. But how have you dealt along the path of, I suppose, if you're in the public eye, sometimes you get a negative attention, unfortunately, goes hand in hand with it. How do you deal with that? How do you protect yourself from any negative feedback you might get?
It's funny. So when I first started on Hollyoaks and I was 14, obviously social media did not exist. We didn't have it. So I think I was quite lucky in a way. I can't imagine now starting on a big show and being thrust into the limelight and suddenly, you know, having like tens of thousands of followers on social media and everyone watching your every move and being so accessible. I can't imagine what that would be like, because my experience is very different. Like, mine was sort of a gradual into like introduction into the industry, and then into, you know, I started doing magazine shoots, and then social media came about, and no one really knew what it was going to blow up into.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, did we? We all sort of jumped on all these things. I remember joining Instagram and being a bit like, oh, this is a bit of a novelty.
Yeah, you
like,
just think
post a picture of my dog.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like, everyone's looking at this picture and like, I didn't even think about that. But
yeah. So now, like, I think I've managed to manage it better, because it's not been here it is, like, this is your life now. But in terms of like, you know, nasty comments or trolling or anything like that, I just block and delete. Like, that's my coping mechanism. I wish that I had more in me to be able to respond to some of the messages or have discussions like some accounts that I follow do. And I think it's really important to open up some conversations. But sometimes the people that are trolling you are just, there's no point. Like, that's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for an insightful, intelligent conversation. They're just looking to make you feel like crap. And they obviously, that for me, I have to sort of rationalize it and go, well, that's not me. That's not my problem. That is their insecurities. Because if they didn't have their own insecurities and issues, they wouldn't be attacking me.
Of course,
They don't know me. So why, it's not something that I've done. It's obviously something that's triggered in them. So that's my way of sort of dealing with it. It doesn't mean it doesn't get to me. Like, I'll see some comments some days and I can just brush it off, and other days it'll really sit with me for the day, and I'll just be like, why am I still thinking about that thing that that one person that I do not know said about, how my hair's looking today, or something ridiculous.
Exactly. I think people forget as well, you're human yourself, and like everybody has good days, but everyone has bad days too. And if one of these comments can trigger you and you're feeling like a bit, just anything, like when your confidence isn't, at the top, it can easily affect you. But I think, like I say, it's a good message that how far do you want to go to unravel something or to kind of fight back? Because everybody on the other side, because they're behind a keyboard or whatever on the phone, can just say whatever and it's anonymous. Or as much as they want it to be anonymous, it is. But I think that's a good message too, that like you've got to kind of go, look, it's about them, not me.
Yeah, definitely. I think it always is. It always is a reflection of them and not you. So,
That's definitely good advice. So you and Mandy for 26 years.
26 years on and off,
Amazing though.
I know,
it shows when you think back to 14 and just like the commitment and doing it, but also being continuously good at doing it. Think how it's true though, isn't it? Like, how easy would it be to kind of go, right, Mandy's been around long enough now, but you still brought things to the table, and that's really impressive too, I think, when you think about it.
Yeah, well, I did 10 years straight when I first started, and then I decided to leave and took a bit of a risk. At 24, I was like, right, I need to know what the industry is actually about, because realistically, you don't work continuously when you're an actor. That's just not what happens. You go from job to job. And so I was in a good position to sort of go, actually, right, I'm 24. I want to go out there. I want to see what this is all about. I want to see if actually I can get other jobs, because, I've done this one for so long now. Maybe this is all I know. Maybe this is all I was supposed to do. And I think I'd got so used to like the repetition and the routine that I just needed a change. I needed a break. So I left and I did a lot of theatre work, like got straight into a theatre role in Bowen, which was like a comedy farce, amazing show. Toured with that, and then I worked. So it was definitely the right decision, and it definitely for me solidified that I was doing the right job and I was in the right career. I was like, okay, cool, I can do this. I'm good at this. So again, that sort of came to confidence and self belief, and for me it was, I had to convince myself that I could do this, and almost convince other people and go, look, I'm not just a one-trick pony. I can do other roles. I can, I can do funny. I can do sad. I can do different accents. I can do different looks, So for me, that was a really important part of my career, and I'm so glad that I did it. And then I can't remember how long it was, but I popped back to Hollyoaks a couple of times. So it was nice that was sort of always there.
Definitely. It's really brave, I think, to make that decision when you're on something that you've been used to for all that time, and you've probably grown up with it. Well, you have grown up with it. You started when you were so young. But to have the confidence to kind of go, actually, maybe there's something else out there for me. Maybe I've got other skills that I can do. And it's taking the risk to explore them, because there was no guarantee, really, I suppose, at that time.
Not at all.
That you could either get those roles or even have Mandy to go back to. So I think that says a lot about you and your self-confidence, to kind of like have the balls to go, actually, it's my life, I want to take control of it, and look what else is out there for me, and then still be able to reinvent Mandy again, as probably you've changed, and then move on with that. So actually, I mean, and when I did decide to leave, there was, like you say, there was no guarantee. I didn't know how they were going to write the character out, so they could have gone, well, that's it, we're gonna kill her off. I was so pleased that they didn't. They normally do. She's not dead yet, as far as I'm aware. She might be now. Who knows? But it was a big step. And actually, I had a lot of people, my parents mainly, sort of going, "Are you sure? Are you sure about this? Because you've got a nice salary. You're not going to get another job." Like actually, I had to really block out their voices or take it in and then go, "No, I'm sticking to my guns. I feel
in my gut that this is right and I need to do this. And I knew that if I didn't, I would have regretted it. Not that there's anything wrong, you know, like Nick Pickard is like one of the nicest guys in the world and he's been there since day one and he's quite happy there. He's never left. Like his character is legendary. But for me, that I knew that if I'd have done that and I'd got to this age now and I was still there would be so many what ifs.
Yeah, and I think that's something that not even from my side of my career, but I've done lots of different things, and having no regrets is so important.
Yeah.
And having that ability to think, actually, right, I built myself up to this position and everything I've learned along the way, if things don't go exactly as I've planned, that you're bold enough and courageous enough to kind of take that risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. So I think, so that leads me on to the next bit, probably what everyone speaks to you about all the time. So it was 2021, your career took a different turn when you went down the OnlyFans route.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about that? What happened
This is 2021.
I don't know. I'm
Oh my gosh, I'm now trying to think. Like, oh, that feels like a long. It actually was, but
yeah,
that's like 2023. Oh my god, yeah, no, it was.
You must
End
get
of
asked this
2021
all the time, but just to kind of lead into to go off the back of changing direction, having confidence to move, and particularly because the role in OnlyFans requires a lot of confidence.
Yeah. So that came about sort of off the back of lockdown again. So I think that for me, I keep talking about this and for me going, well, that's clearly a really pivotal point in my life, in a lot of people's lives. I know a lot of people had significant changes, whether that was like, you know, relationships or setting up businesses or changing jobs or, you know, getting pregnant or things like that during that time. It was huge for all of us, wasn't it? And it was, you know, obviously a massive thing mentally for everyone as well, whether that was in a positive or negative way. And I think for me, it was the first time since being 14 that I had been forced to stop, sort of stop and take stock of everything because I had no choice. And I'm a go person. And if I'm sat still or not doing something, I'm like, no, I need to be doing something. Like, this doesn't feel right.
It's a complete change for you. If you've been so busy. Also, you had your family at the time as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just work, everything.
Yeah, everything stopped. And it was sort of me going, okay, right, well, I have no choice but to sort of stop and think about things. And I think I really took in, I sort of, I knew that I wasn't happy where I was at work. But I was just on a conveyor belt with it, just like, keep going, you know, just keep swimming. Like, it's fine. It's some sort of security. It's an income. It's some sort of stability, although, you know, you can be sort of dropped at any time. But you don't, again, it goes back to that going, you don't get that as an actor. So it was down the road. I was really comfortable with the character. I didn't really have to think about it. So it was quite easy to do. And so I did just sort of keep going. But when I stopped during lockdown and went, I'm not happy there. Like, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. I'm not happy with the storylines. I'm not happy with how things are going. And then going back after lockdown and all my storylines got flipped because of social distancing. So everything that was supposed to be happening that we'd started filming.
They had to change,
Had to change. Like, we were about to do a massive stunt sequence, which I was heavily involved in. That got dropped because you can't do a stunt sequence when no one can go near anybody. And so that
went on for ages, didn't it? It wasn't just a temporary thing.
So long. I mean, even like, it's not been long since they've been able to stop wearing masks and social distancing. I know that because obviously I've still got friends there. Much longer than anywhere else. And I get it. Of course I get it. I understand. But it was very different. It was a very different place to go back to. So what I discovered when I went back was that the element of it that I loved, which was the social part and, you know, the banter on set and the lovely friends I have there, that was also gone because we had to sit in our own dressing rooms. You weren't allowed, like, the green room got shut off. You weren't allowed to sit with each other. You weren't on set. We weren't allowed to be next to, like, this would have been too close.
Yeah.
You know, they literally had a stick that they would put in between us and go, move back a bit. So
all your confidence in that role of Mandy for years are just gone.
And everything that I was keeping me going there had gone, including then, like I say, the storylines and everything that I had coming up. So during lockdown, I'd been trying to think of ways of being more free. And so having something that could be mine, that I could be in control of and manage. And me and my husband had talked about, like, opening a coffee shop or, you know, doing some sort of business on the side, which wouldn't interfere with my filming schedule, but it could be mine, and it could be more like it's a security thing.
Yeah.
Like this is something that I can be in control of. And then I started doing lots of photo shoots, just for myself, really. I was like, I turned 40. Well, I was about to turn 40, feeling really good. I've been training really hard. I kept up my training during lockdown. And so I was just doing shoots that I was putting on my Instagram. So like lingerie, bikini, stuff that I've done all of my life, you know, since being
because that was
17.
your aim, wasn't it? At the start, you wanted to do modelling.
Well, I wanted to do modelling, and then obviously being in a show like Hollyoaks, I did all the lads mags, I did calendars. That was something that was just part and parcel of the job. Yeah. Like we were seen as, it was like the sexy soap, wasn't it? That's what it was known for.
I feel like you won an award.
I never won that award.
Oh, didn't you?
No.
Well, you should.
How rude. What a ridiculous award now, though, as well. You think about it. It's like, how is that a thing? How can you put a label on that? But so I'd been doing all of these shoots, and really long story short, I basically was putting them on like my Instagram, and it was a photographer that actually said to me, why are you putting those shots out for like when you could be making money on them? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, you could sell them to an agency. So, you know, like a photography agency, which would then basically put them in tabloids. That's how that works. And you can get a cut from that. But it's not a lot. You don't get a great cut. So again, I was like, that doesn't feel like I'm in control. It feels like I'm still giving my images away, and then they can still go anywhere. And I've not got control. I've not got copyright. And I think it was the same photographer that then mentioned OnlyFans. And I went, whoa, no. I mean, that's not the sort of pictures I'm doing. Because for me, like most people's initial response to hearing about OnlyFans is, oh my God, but it's sex, it's porn, it's nudity, it's this, it's that. And that was my initial reaction as well.
A lot of people don't even know what it's about.
No.
It's just ignorance to it, I suppose, in many levels too.
And again, it's that people, you just hear something and go, well, that's what it is.
Judgment straight away.
That's, you know, if it's, you know, says that in the Daily Mail, then that must be true.
Yeah.
Exactly. People don't think to go, oh, I might look into this myself. And so I looked at the platform and went, okay, right, there's not just that on there, but maybe there's another way of doing this. So then looked at setting up my own, like a subscription site that was my own to just put my images on. Looked at things like Patreon, which is similar to OnlyFans, but kept circling back to OnlyFans because it's such a good business model. It's global, so you've already got a global audience there, which, you know, is incredible. I wouldn't have had that if I'd set up my own website. You start from scratch.
You're really having to climb and do the legwork, whereas that's all set up for you. The platform is already
already done, yeah. And then I was able to reach out to OnlyFans before I made the decision and have meetings with them to ask all these questions and go, well, how does that work? And is it that? And all the things that I was going, oh my gosh. And I then had discussions with Hollyoaks, and they knew what I was planning. And at first their initial response was, you know, we don't want that association. And then...
So you actually spoke to them about what
We had emails, and a Zoom call.
Is that because you anticipated they'd have a problem with it?
Yeah, because I thought it was the same as everyone else. And I thought, and I've always played everything by the book. I'm very professional, and you weren't allowed to do anything out of contract without permission, blah, blah, blah. So I went through the right avenues and was like, look, this is what I'm considering. How would this work? Would you be okay with it? Obviously, I'm not going to do anything explicit. I'm literally lifting off my underwear content off of my Instagram and putting it on a separate platform.
Which isn't a new thing. You've done that consistently throughout your career.
Nothing had changed with that. And it was fine for it to go on Instagram. But then that was clearly a problem. And then anyway, I launched. I just thought, do you know what? I turned 40. I wasn't happy at work. I wasn't very busy. And I wanted to do this. I wanted to have this control. And I just thought, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to see. It's only like, you know, you can only go like do it. And I thought if it doesn't work, or I don't like the platform, or I'm not comfortable with it, or whatever, I can just close it down.
I suppose there's only so far your research can go until actually doing it will give you the answer.
Yeah. You've just got to see. Yeah. And I thought I might launch it and get like 3 subscribers and go, well, this isn't worth it, is it?
Yeah.
And I launched it on a Friday night. And literally, I remember, I think my husband was still at work, and I decided to launch like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or something. and sat on the sofa in the kitchen, and I could not believe. I just watched the numbers going up and the subscribe and going, oh my god, like this is insane. And I knew then, I was like, this is the best decision I've ever made, because I have that fan base, I have support, it's mine, I own the images, I am like the creative director of the whole thing, and I'm not answering to anyone with it. I can do it in my time. And obviously the idea to begin with was that I would run it alongside Hollyoaks, but then like less than a week later, they terminated my contract. So
how did that make you feel after all that time?
Really shitty, to be honest. Disappointed more than anything, because I've been so loyal for so long and sort of
family, I suppose, after all that time.
Yeah, and I just think when you've worked hard for a company, like I dropped everything for them in the past, the fact that there wasn't that trust there and that loyalty, and that it wasn't even a discussion, it was you take it down or you're not in the show anymore. There was no like, okay, how can we make this work? Could we make this work? Because that's the conversation I had. I was like, is there any way, like, why don't you work with me on this? Because this could be massive, which it turned out to be. But there was literally no conversation along those lines. So I just, for the first time, stood my ground, because I knew, again, I had that gut feeling, like when I was 24 and I was like, I know I'm making the right decision. I just had that feeling where I was like, this feels right to me, and I'm done with being treated like a child. Like, I'm a 40-year-old woman now. It's my body. You can't tell me what to do with my own body. You've been capitalising on it for most of my life, so it's now time for me to take back control.
Yeah. I was going to make that likeness actually to when you were 24. It's not actually about you being on OnlyFans. It's about your control of your life and thinking, right, the lockdown made everyone kind of have a long, hard look at themselves. There was loads of negatives about it, but there's also loads of positives. That it was that time of reflection to find out what really mattered, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to live your life in a certain way, and I suppose being 40 as well is a point where you think, God, like, you look back at things and, you've got this amazing career, you've been with Hollyoaks, you've grown and developed with them, but you're still there, and if you're reflecting, you're not getting what you want out of it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really about you. The way I'm reading it, of going, right, I want to be on OnlyFans, it was actually, I want to control my life more, I want to be empowered to make decisions as a woman who's 40 with a family, who's got a good career, has got these amazing qualities that are actually transferable. They're not just, or shouldn't just be kept in that little safety cocoon that Hollyoaks offers you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you touched then on empowerment, and it really did for me feel massively empowering, and it still does. And I think that was pivotal for me. And I think, like you say, that turning 40 was again a big, like, momentous moment where I just went, if I don't do it now, I'm going to have regrets. It was that again. I was like, if I now look back in 10 years' time and go, okay, I said no and I stayed here when I knew I wasn't happy and I knew that something was off, like I just didn't feel right, I would have massively regretted that. So I had to go with my gut, and it did feel really empowering to stand up for myself, to take control of my freedom, my image, my creativity, my time.
Yeah.
Like, all of that for me. And then, a lot of people go, yeah, but it's clearly about the money. Well, it's not just about the money, but obviously there's a financial benefit as well. Like, I'm monetizing now, but why shouldn't I monetize on my own images, on my own image? Like, if anyone should be monetizing on that, it's me, like no one else. So,
that's interesting, actually, because it's paying off for you in more ways than one now, though. So if you've got more time, probably more quality time with your family, because you're not in a strict schedule. And have you found that, I suppose, has your life changed loads, or how would you describe the impact it's made?
It's changed in that I can do the school run, I can work my own schedule. And again, I've never had that. Never, ever had that, because I've always been dictated by whatever production I'm doing. And that's fine. Obviously, that's how, life works. So it's so nice to have that where I can go, okay, what's my husband got on this week? What's his schedule like? What's Stan got on at school? What have I got? What work do I need to do? And I can work, most of the time, work my work around them now. And so I can prioritise quality of life. And my little boy, I can decide when I want to go on holiday. I don't have to apply for holidays and have them rejected or sort of work around anyone else. It's like I can put us first. So life has changed that way. And then because of, you know, having a bit more financial freedom, or more than I've ever had in any other job, I'm able to, like, we've had lovely holidays, we've done nice things to the house, like stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do before, because you never know where the next paycheck's coming in or whether you're going to have a busy year or not. So as we do, you sort of like, you hold on to money, don't you? Because you don't know where the next bit's coming from. And so I've been able to be a bit more extravagant and do things that we've always wanted to do, or that I've been putting off.
And you've worked hard for such a long time. You've earned that, haven't you? It's not just, even though it's maybe now that you're maybe generating more money in a short space of time, but over that length of time of your career as well, you've been constantly working.
Yeah.
And no, that's really interesting to hear. And being a mum now and having more time and probably doing those things like, you know, looking after yourself more, probably because you're not running around like a crazy person trying to spin so many plates.
Yeah.
It probably is more, well, beneficial to your relationship because you're able to put more into it than potentially before.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, like you say, is one of the biggest things actually has been like self-care. Like I've always trained and stuff, but I've like found a new hobby in pole fitness, which I am obsessed with.
Yeah, let's focus on that now.
Literally, I'm obsessed. But go on, yeah.
No, carry on. I was just going to say, you've led into that nicely. I was going to ask you about that.
Well, that's it. So I found time for hobbies that I wouldn't have been able to do before, because I just couldn't. I mean, I struggled to fit the gym in before, and I would, you know, get up at 5 and go to the gym before work, or I'd finish.
It's not sustainable. That's
it's not. And also, I couldn't do that and then take Stanley to school or pick Stanley up. Like, it was really difficult to make it work last time, but I was like prioritizing my health and getting fit, and I was feeling really good for it. But it was a lot. And now I can run Stanley to school in the morning, then I can go straight to the gym, and then I can go and do a pole class, and then I can come home and get all like the cleaning and admin stuff done, and then I pick him up from school. And I've never been able to do that before. And I've been like, you know, I've been able to get my nails done, or like silly things like that, or go down to London and see friends, and actually be able to sort of treat myself and do nice things that before would have, well, you just don't do because they're not priority, are they? So it's nice now to have that time, and that in itself, I think then obviously those things give you confidence, which it all feeds back into that,
because you've got more time, I think, spending about yourself. And like when you mentioned about doing the therapy, you never really listen to your own thoughts until you have to.
Yeah.
So if you're like, one day I don't feel like going to the gym, I need to chill, or actually I need to do all these different things, and you're off doing lots of different things that add to your life, it just gives you choice and freedom, I suppose, in doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what do you think the future holds then? What's next for you?
Well, I'm doing my podcast at the moment again, so season 2 of Hot and Bothered, which is a slightly different format this time. So I'm still talking about all taboo topics, anything taboo, conversations people don't want to have or are embarrassed to have, or but getting different guests on, like yourself, doing. So that's due to launch soon. I've been working with some lovely brands, again, which has been great because I've never really had the freedom to do that before. So going into OnlyFans has really opened up a load of opportunities and a load of different doors for me, basically. So I've been working with some amazing brands like Ann Summers and things like that, which is just great because it's really on brand for me now. Definitely. And I've got a couple of exciting projects coming up over summer and more shoots. Like I'm obviously shooting loads, like that's what I do. I either self-shoot at home, or I work with other girls or photographers that I've wanted to work with or that I've worked with a lot. So I try and do at least one shoot a month, so I've got loads of content. And
so it's keeping you dead busy.
Yeah, really busy, which is great.
And I think as well, like kind of summarising what you're saying, all the different things you've gone, the avenues that you've gone through in your career, they're all empowering steps. I think even talking about the podcast, it's breaking down taboos.
Yeah.
Like taboos about OnlyFans, taboos about sex, taboos that people think about them, but we don't speak about them.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good and so inspiring that you've got the confidence to have that voice, which will help so many different people.
Yeah, and I think it's come from a place of me not having a voice for so long as well, or having to be filtered for so long, that I've actually now got this freedom that, again, that feels really empowering to go, oh my God, I can say these things. I can swear, or I can say the word sex, or, you know, penis, and it's fine.
Exactly.
Whereas before, so I think it is important to, I mean, and so many amazing people having really important conversations. And I think that's what's great, again, about social media and things like that, is that we can have those conversations, and if someone starts, then it's you know, like a domino effect.
Of course.
So it's important to do that.
It's breaking down those barriers, isn't it? And breaking down, or giving people space to speak about things.
Yeah.
And not judging them, and
Without
just kind of being open. And yeah, I think it's amazing. I suppose to kind of wrap things up, Sarah, if you were going to talk about things that are your sort of confidence tips or confidence kicks, or however you want to put it, like when you're feeling a bit like you need to get yourself in the zone or feeling more confident, is there anything you do to think about or anything?
I think there's many things really. I think for me, it's getting in a good mental space. So if I'm feeling a bit low or not quite myself, or if something's gotten to me, I will either exercise, I'll get out in fresh air, try and change my perspective. I love meditation, so I will listen, just guided meditation. So I will put one on, and that for me can instantly change your mindset, because you can listen to something and it flips how you're
taking
thinking.
That time to actually,
and that can be like literally 5 minutes of just like breathing and like affirmations. And I'm really into things like that, because I think it is all about just switching your mind. It's not as easy as that, obviously, but I think things like that for me are the things that can really, you know, turn it around. Therapy, speaking to friends, mainly sort of just getting out of your own head and switching that thought process up.
When people have a problem, it's like, oh, you overthink it, you bottle it up, and it gets worse and worse. But like I say, sometimes just kind of realising, actually, this is a thing, it's on my mind, and just taking that time to kind of digest it and reframe your mindset.
Yeah.
I think it's just like you said before about therapy, it's giving yourself that space and being kind to yourself and not too hard on yourself about having those thoughts in the first place.
Exactly. And knowing that they'll pass. I think that's an important thing. You know, even when you're in like the worst space, I think if you just know that you've been through, you know, whatever bad times, and that has passed. It does. It's not easy, but life's not easy, is it? So I think it's just that having confidence that things will get better.
I think that's a really powerful point, actually, because different emotions as you go through life, sometimes you think this is the worst thing that's ever happened, you know, and you really get stuck in that moment. But I suppose that comes with experience and maturity and going through bad times like you've gone through, but actually those times of what's grown your confidence probably more than all the success that you've had or made you really recognise it.
I think it makes you acknowledge the good, doesn't it? When bad things happen, you can appreciate and be grateful for things as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for all that. I think we've covered the whole, your whole career so far until the next chapters. But thank you so much for that.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.